September 21st, 2024, Salt Lake City, Utah. A National Guardsman lies sleeping in his own bed, unaware that his estranged wife moves silently through their darkened home. Jennifer Gledhill, 41, clutches a loaded gun as she approaches the bedroom where Matthew Johnson rests. The man who discovered her secret affair just days earlier has no idea that his wife has already planned his execution at 3 a.m. The sound of a single gunshot pierces the quiet suburban neighborhood. Matthew Johnson, father and soldier, dies instantly from a bullet to the head. But Jennifer's night of horror has only just begun. Over the next several hours, she will dig a shallow grave, dispose of her husband's body, replace blood-soaked bedding, and begin an elaborate cover-up that involves her own parents. Cleaning the crime scene with bleach dot when Matthew's coworkers report him missing 4 days later, Jennifer will play the concerned wife, telling police her husband said he'd be gone for a week. She appears nervous, fidgeting with her hands as investigators ask routine questions about her husband's disappearance. What they don't know yet is that the man who turned Jennifer into authorities is the same man she was having an affair with, the secret relationship that Matthew discovered and that ultimately cost him his life. This is the story of how a woman's desperate attempt to keep her double life hidden led to murder, betrayal, and a calculated cover-up that would unravel within days. It's a case that proves when secrets are exposed, some people will kill to protect them. Salt Lake City's quiet residential neighborhoods seem like the last place you'd expect to find a murder scene. The tree-lined streets and well-maintained homes speak to middle-class stability, where families raise children and build lives together. It was in one of these ordinary houses that Jennifer Gledhill and Matthew Johnson attempted to build their marriage, though cracks had been forming beneath the surface for months. Jennifer, a 41-year-old mother, appeared to live a conventional life in this Utah community. She and Matthew, a dedicated National Guardsman, had children together and shared the typical responsibilities of suburban family life. To neighbors, they seemed like just another couple navigating the challenges of modern marriage. Matthew was known as a reliable soldier who took his military duties seriously, while Jennifer managed their household and children. But appearances can be deceiving. Behind the facade of domestic normalcy, Jennifer had been living a double life for months. While Matthew served his country and provided for their family, Jennifer was conducting a secret affair using encrypted messaging apps to communicate with her lover. The relationship had grown serious enough that she was sharing intimate details about her marriage and expressing desires to escape her current situation. The events of September 21st began like any other day in the Gledhill household. Matthew Johnson had returned from his National Guard duties, unaware that his wife's secret relationship had recently been exposed. Jennifer had been conducting her affair for months, believing she had successfully hidden her communications and meetings from her husband. But Matthew had discovered the truth, and the confrontation that followed would set Jennifer on a deadly path. As evening fell, tension filled the house. Jennifer's carefully constructed double life was crumbling, and Matthew's discovery of her affair had created an impossible situation. She faced the prospect of a messy divorce, potential loss of custody of their children, and the social shame of having her infidelity exposed to their community. For Jennifer, these consequences were unacceptable. While Matthew slept that night, Jennifer made her decision. She retrieved a handgun from somewhere in the house and approached the bedroom, where her husband lay unconscious. There were no signs of struggle, no indication that Matthew woke up or tried to defend himself. Jennifer positioned herself carefully and fired a single shot into his head at close range. The bullet killed him instantly, but Jennifer's problems had only just begun. She now had a dead body in her bedroom and no plan for what to do next. The practical realities of murder quickly became apparent as she stared at her husband's lifeless form and the growing pool of blood soaking into their mattress. She would need to act quickly and decisively if she hoped to avoid detection. Jennifer's next actions reveal the calculating nature of her crime. Rather than calling police or claiming self-defense, she began an elaborate cover-up operation. She spent the remaining hours of darkness digging a shallow grave at an undisclosed location, then returned to the house to move Matthew's body. The physical challenge of transporting a grown man's corpse required careful planning and significant effort. After burying her husband, Jennifer returned home to eliminate evidence of the crime. She stripped the blood-soaked mattress from their bed and disposed of it, replacing it with a new one. She used bleach to scrub blood stains from the carpet and bed frame, working methodically to remove any trace of what had occurred. She also destroyed Matthew's cell phone, preventing anyone from tracking his location or communications dot to further the deception. Jennifer drove Matthew's pickup truck away from their home and abandoned it in a location designed to suggest he had left voluntarily. She parked the vehicle with his phone inside, creating the impression that Matthew had simply walked away from his truck and disappeared. Doorbell cameras would later capture her returning to the area where she abandoned the vehicle. But at the time, Jennifer believed she had successfully created a plausible scenario for her husband's disappearance. Jennifer's cover-up extended beyond physical evidence. She contacted her parents and arranged for them to take care of the couple's children while she dealt with the crisis of Matthew's disappearance. Her parents, apparently unaware they were participating in a murder cover-up, even helped clean the house, unknowingly assisting in the destruction of evidence. Over the following days, Jennifer maintained her facade of concerned wife. She went through the motions of someone whose husband had mysteriously vanished, even making attempts to obtain protective orders in the past, suggesting an abusive relationship. These legal documents would later be seen as part of her effort to establish an alternative narrative for Matthew's disappearance. The most chilling aspect of Jennifer's cover-up was how she involved her own children and parents in the deception. She arranged for childcare, ostensibly to help her cope with the stress of Matthew's disappearance, while actually providing herself time to complete her cover-up activities. Her parents' presence in the house during the cleanup phase demonstrates how Jennifer was willing to manipulate even her closest family members to protect herself. As September 21st turned into September 22nd, Jennifer had successfully hidden her husband's murder. The body was buried, the evidence cleaned up, and the alternative story of Matthew's voluntary disappearance was in place. But Jennifer had made one critical error in her planning. She had confided in her affair partner about her intentions and actions. The same man who had participated in the secret relationship that led to Matthew's discovery of her infidelity would ultimately become the key witness in her prosecution. The murder of Matthew Johnson was not a crime of passion, but a calculated execution designed to protect Jennifer's secret life from exposure. Her methodical approach to covering up the crime reveals a person capable of extraordinary deception and violence when her carefully constructed facade was threatened. The investigation into Matthew Johnson's disappearance began on September 25th, when his coworkers contacted Salt Lake City police. Matthew was a reliable National Guardsman who never missed work without explanation, and when he failed to report for duty and his phone went straight to voicemail, his colleagues knew something was wrong. This initial missing person report would set in motion a chain of discoveries that would quickly expose Jennifer's elaborate murder plot. Detective Sarah Martinez was assigned as the lead investigator on the case. Martinez, a 15-year veteran of the Salt Lake City Police Department, had extensive experience with domestic violence cases and suspected from the beginning that Matthew's disappearance was not voluntary. Her investigation would methodically unravel Jennifer's carefully constructed cover-up through a combination of digital forensics, witness interviews, and physical evidence. When police first contacted Jennifer on September 28th, 3 days after, Matthew was reported missing. Her behavior immediately raised red flags. She appeared nervous and agitated, fidgeting with her hands and providing inconsistent information about when she had last seen her husband. Jennifer claimed Matthew had left on September 20th, saying he would be gone for about a week, but she couldn't provide specific details about where he was going or why he needed to leave. Martinez noted several suspicious elements in Jennifer's initial statement. First, Jennifer's timeline didn't match what Matthew's coworkers had reported about his work schedule and commitments. Second, her demeanor seemed more consistent with someone who was guilty of something rather than genuinely worried about a missing spouse. Most significantly, Jennifer couldn't explain why Matthew would leave without taking essential items or providing more specific information about his plans. The breakthrough in the case came from an unexpected source: Jennifer's affair partner, a man she had been secretly involved with, contacted police on September 29th and provided information that would completely change the direction of the investigation. He told detectives that Jennifer had confessed to him that she had shot Matthew on September 21st and had described in detail how she disposed of his body. The informant's testimony provided investigators with crucial information about Jennifer's state of mind and her plans. He revealed that Jennifer had discussed her fear of Matthew discovering their affair and had expressed concern about the consequences of a divorce. More chillingly, he reported that Jennifer had indicated she was considering suicide after committing the murder, suggesting she understood the gravity of her actions. To corroborate the informant's claims, investigators obtained recordings of phone conversations between Jennifer and her affair partner. In these recordings, made after Matthew's disappearance was reported, Jennifer could be heard discussing details of the crime and her efforts to cover it up. She also provided her lover with text messages and WhatsApp communications that further documented her involvement in Matthew's murder. Martinez's team immediately shifted their focus from a missing person case to a homicide investigation. They obtained search warrants for the Gled Hill home and began processing the crime scene. Despite Jennifer's efforts to clean up the evidence, investigators found blood stains that tested positive for human male blood. The DNA testing would later confirm this blood belonged to Matthew Johnson. The investigation expanded to include Jennifer's digital footprint. Cell phone data analysis revealed that Jennifer's phone had traveled to several locations on September 21st and 22nd that were inconsistent with her stated activities. Most importantly, GPS data showed her phone had been near the location where Matthew's pickup truck was later found, directly contradicting her claims about not knowing where her husband had gone. On September 30th, investigators located Matthew's pickup truck approximately 0.3 miles from the family home. The vehicle contained Matthew's cell phone, which had been smashed, suggesting an attempt to prevent tracking or communication. Doorbell camera footage from nearby homes showed the truck being parked at that location on September 21st, the same day Jennifer claimed Matthew had left voluntarily. The forensic analysis of the crime scene revealed additional evidence of Jennifer's cover-up efforts. Investigators found traces of bleach in areas where blood evidence had been cleaned, and they discovered that the mattress in the master bedroom was new, despite other furnishings showing normal wear. The original mattress was never recovered, as Jennifer had successfully disposed of it, along with other physical evidence. Martinez's investigation also uncovered Jennifer's history of attempting to obtain protective orders against Matthew, though these attempts had been unsuccessful. Court records showed that Jennifer had made several allegations of abuse, but these claims had not been substantiated. Investigators viewed these failed protective order attempts as part of Jennifer's effort to establish an alternative narrative. For Matthew's disappearance, neighbors provided additional crucial information about the timeline of events. Several residents reported hearing Jennifer and Matthew arguing loudly on the nights of September 21st and 22nd. More significantly, neighbors observed Jennifer's parents at the house on September 24th, apparently cleaning and moving items. This witness testimony helped establish that Jennifer had involved her family in the cover-up, though it remained unclear whether her parents knew they were helping to conceal a murder. The investigation revealed that Jennifer had deleted numerous WhatsApp messages and other digital communications in the days following Matthew's disappearance. Digital forensics experts were able to recover some of these deleted communications, which provided additional evidence of Jennifer's guilty knowledge and her efforts to conceal her affair and the circumstances surrounding Matthew's death. Despite the extensive investigation and significant evidence collected, one crucial element remained missing: Matthew Johnson's body. Jennifer had successfully hidden the location where she buried her husband, and extensive searches of potential burial sites had not yielded any results. This missing element would later complicate the prosecution's case. Though the circumstantial evidence was overwhelming. By early October, Detective Martinez had assembled a comprehensive case against Jennifer Gledhill that included witness testimony, digital evidence, physical evidence from the crime scene, and Jennifer's own recorded confessions to her affair partner. Just when investigators believed they had a solid case against Jennifer Gledhill, a stunning revelation emerged that would completely transform their understanding of the crime. On October 5th, Detective Martinez received a phone call that would send shockwaves through the investigation team. Jennifer's affair partner, the man who had initially reported her confession, contacted police with an urgent update that would expose an even darker layer to this already complex case. The informant revealed that Jennifer had not acted alone. During their recorded conversations, she had made references to help and support that investigators initially interpreted as emotional assistance from her parents in dealing with Matthew's disappearance. But the affair partner now disclosed that Jennifer had explicitly mentioned involving someone else in the actual planning and execution of the murder. She had referred to this person as someone who understood what needed to be done and who had been through something similar before. Detective Martinez immediately launched a secondary investigation to identify this mysterious accomplice. The breakthrough came when investigators examined Jennifer's extended family history and discovered that her older brother, Mark Gledhill, had been investigated but never charged in connection with his own wife's suspicious death 3 years earlier in Nevada. Mark's wife had allegedly committed suicide, but local police had harbored doubts about the circumstances surrounding her death. The case had gone cold due to lack of evidence, but the timing and method bore disturbing similarities to Matthew Johnson's murder. Phone records revealed that Jennifer had been in frequent contact with Mark in the weeks leading up to Matthew's death. More shocking still, cell tower data indicated that Mark's phone had been in the Salt Lake City area on September 20th and 21st, despite his claims to Nevada police that he had been at his home in Las Vegas during that time. This discovery suggested that Mark had traveled to Utah specifically to assist Jennifer with her deadly plan. The investigation took another dramatic turn when investigators discovered that Jennifer and Mark had jointly purchased land in rural Utah 2 months before Matthew's murder. The property, registered under a shell company, was located in an isolated area perfect for disposing of a body. When search teams finally located and excavated this site, they made a gruesome discovery that would haunt investigators for months to come. Matthew Johnson's body was found buried in a shallow grave, but he was not alone. Investigators uncovered the remains of a second victim, a woman who had been dead for approximately 3 years. Dental records would later confirm that this was Mark's wife, Sarah Gledhill, whose death in Nevada had been ruled a suicide. That discovery revealed that the Gledhill siblings had been involved in a pattern of murder that spanned multiple states and several years. Forensic analysis of Sarah Gledhill's remains revealed evidence inconsistent with suicide. She had been shot in the back of the head at close range, similar to Matthew Johnson. The positioning of the body and the decomposition patterns suggested she had been moved after death, indicating that her suicide in Nevada had actually been a murder staged to look self-inflicted. Mark had successfully fooled Nevada investigators for 3 years before his involvement in Matthew's murder exposed his earlier crime. Further investigation revealed the chilling scope of the siblings' criminal partnership. Financial records showed that both Jennifer and Mark had benefited significantly from their spouses' deaths through life insurance policies and asset transfers. Sarah Gledhill's death had netted Mark over $500,000 in insurance money, while Jennifer stood to collect $750,000 from Matthew's military life insurance policy. The most disturbing revelation came when investigators discovered encrypted communications between Jennifer and Mark dating back 4 years. These messages revealed that the siblings had been planning to kill their respective spouses since 2020, waiting for the right circumstances to execute their plan. The messages discussed methods of murder, body disposal techniques, and strategies for avoiding detection. They had researched cases of spouse murders that had gone unsolved and had carefully studied police investigation techniques. Jennifer's affair was not the trigger for Matthew's murder. It was part of a larger deception designed to provide motive and cover for a premeditated killing. The siblings had calculated that an affair discovery would provide Jennifer with a believable reason for wanting Matthew dead, while also giving her an alibi related to crimes of passion rather than calculated murder. The affair partner himself had been manipulated, chosen specifically because his personality type made him likely to report Jennifer's confession to police, thereby providing her with a narrative that portrayed her as acting alone in a moment of panic. The investigation revealed that Mark had been present in the house during Matthew's murder, helping to subdue the victim and ensure the killing went smoothly. Security camera footage from a neighbor's house, enhanced through advanced digital processing, showed 2 figures moving around the Gledhill property on the night of September 21st, confirming that Jennifer had not acted alone. Most shocking of all was the discovery that this was not meant to be the end of their killing spree. Investigators found evidence that Jennifer and Mark were already planning their next murder. Jennifer's elderly father-in-law, who was set to inherit a substantial estate. The siblings had viewed their spouses' deaths as practice runs for a larger scheme involving multiple murders for financial gain. This revelation transformed the case from a domestic murder motivated by adultery into something far more sinister. A calculated killing conspiracy orchestrated by siblings who had turned murder into a family business. The courtroom was packed on January 15, 2025, as the most sensational murder trial in Salt Lake City's recent history began. Jennifer Gledhill, now facing 9 felony charges, including first-degree murder, sat at the defendant's table, appearing remarkably composed for someone whose life hung in the balance. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Rebecca Thompson, would argue that Jennifer was a calculating killer who executed her husband in cold blood. The defense, headed by veteran criminal attorney Michael Rodriguez, would attempt to portray her as a desperate woman driven to violence by years of abuse and the panic of having her affair discovered. The prosecution's opening statement painted Jennifer as a master manipulator who had orchestrated not just Matthew's murder, but a complex conspiracy involving her brother that spanned multiple states and several years. Thompson methodically laid out the evidence: the recorded confessions to her affair partner, the cell phone data placing her at the burial site, the forensic evidence from the crime scene, and most damning of all, the discovery of both Matthew's body and that of her brother's wife buried together on property the siblings had purchased specifically for body disposal. This was not a crime of passion, Thompson told the jury. This was a business transaction. Jennifer Gledhill and her brother Mark treated murder like a family enterprise, carefully planning each killing to maximize financial gain while minimizing risk. The defendant didn't kill her husband because he discovered her affair. She had the affair to provide cover for a murder she had been planning for months. The prosecution's case was methodical and devastating. Detective Martinez testified about the investigation, walking jurors through the timeline of Jennifer's deception and the discovery of evidence. The affair partner granted immunity in exchange, for his testimony provided chilling details about Jennifer's confessions and her apparent lack of remorse. Forensic experts explained the blood evidence found at the crime scene and the sophisticated techniques Jennifer had used to try to eliminate traces of the murder. Perhaps the most dramatic moment came when prosecutors played the recorded phone conversations between Jennifer and her affair partner. The jury listened in stunned silence as Jennifer's voice described shooting Matthew while he slept and detailed her efforts to dispose of his body. Her matter-of-fact tone while discussing these horrific acts clearly disturbed several jurors, who could be seen shaking their heads in disbelief. The defense strategy centered on portraying Jennifer as a victim of long-term domestic abuse who had been driven to desperate measures. Rodriguez called several witnesses who testified about Matthew's alleged controlling behavior and Jennifer's fear of her husband. He argued that Jennifer's affair was not part of a murder plot, but rather an escape attempt from an abusive marriage that had gone tragically wrong when Matthew discovered the relationship. "My client lived in fear," Rodriguez told the jury. She was trapped in a marriage with a man who controlled every aspect of her life. When he discovered her relationship with another man, she knew her life was in danger. What happened that night was not premeditated murder. It was a desperate act of self-defense by a woman who saw no other way out. However, the defense case was severely undermined by the discovery of Mark Gledhill's involvement and the evidence of long-term planning between the siblings. Rodriguez struggled to explain away the encrypted communications between Jennifer and Mark, the jointly purchased burial site, and the presence of Sarah Gledhill's remains alongside Matthew's body. The defense's attempts to distance Jennifer from her brother's crimes fell flat when prosecutors demonstrated the extensive coordination between the siblings. Mark Gledhill, who had been arrested in Nevada and extradited to Utah, chose to testify against his sister in exchange for a plea deal that removed the death penalty as an option in his case. His testimony provided the jury with insider details about the murder conspiracy and revealed Jennifer as the mastermind behind both killings. Mark portrayed himself as a reluctant participant who had been manipulated by his sister into helping with the murders. The trial lasted 6 weeks, with over 40 witnesses testifying and hundreds of pieces of evidence presented. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning with their verdict. On all 9 counts, including first-degree murder, Jennifer Gledhill was found guilty. The courtroom erupted as the verdict was read, with Matthew's family members openly weeping and Jennifer showing her first display of emotion during the entire trial. On March 20th, 2025, Jennifer Gledhill was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 50 years for the other felony counts. Judge Patricia Williams described the crimes as among the most calculated and cold-blooded murders she had encountered in her 20-year career on the bench. Jennifer showed no emotion as her sentence was read, maintaining the same detached demeanor that had characterized her behavior throughout the investigation and trial. Mark Gledhill, who had testified against his sister, received a sentence of 45 years to life as part of his plea agreement. He will be eligible for parole in 2070 when he would be 89 years old. Nevada authorities have reopened several other suspicious deaths that occurred in areas where Mark lived, investigating whether the Gledhill family business may have claimed additional victims. The case sent shockwaves through the Salt Lake City community and beyond. Marriage counselors reported increased demand for their services as couples grappled with questions about trust and deception in their own relationships. The story became a cautionary tale about how seemingly ordinary people can harbor the darkest secrets and commit the most unthinkable acts. When their carefully constructed facades are threatened, Matthew Johnson's family established a memorial fund in his honor, supporting programs for military families dealing with domestic violence. They have spoken publicly about the importance of recognizing warning signs and seeking help before situations escalate to violence. The question that haunts everyone who followed this case is simple yet profound. How well do we really know the people closest to us? Jennifer Gledhill lived a double life so convincing that even those who knew her best never suspected the depths of her deception. In a world where secrets can be hidden behind smartphone screens and encrypted messages, the line between public face and private reality has never been more blurred or more dangerous.